Thank you very much for watching this video. Before we begin, I wanted to include a disclaimer, as I include in my about section as well as in the description of this video. All of my readings are for entertainment purposes only. They are never, ever meant to diagnose, treat, or otherwise have any influence upon your own medical issues or situations that you may have. I always encourage everyone to make their own sound decisions, including legal matters, financial matters, and every other matter in your own life. These are for entertainment purposes only. As these are general tea leaf readings, again, it makes sense, therefore, that some of this information will resonate with you and some of it may not. You may find that some applies and some doesn't. That is completely normal and to be expected, as these are general tea leaf readings. So again, take what you will and leave what you don't, and simply enjoy your reading and hope that you find it informative and insightful. Thank you. Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sarah, and yes, I am a coffee drinking tea leaf reader. I know that may sound very strange, but it is also very true. Hope that you're keeping well and that so far August, how crazy is it already that we're in August already, that your month of August is going very well for you. This is a general bi-weekly tea leaf reading, half of it retroactive. This is for the weeks of July the 31st and August the 7th. So for this past week and also for this week going forward, I'm going to be recording the following tea leaf reading for the weeks of August the 14th and 21st. Oh my gosh. And I'll be doing that very soon, and I'm intending to have that posted on August the 14th. So thank you so much once again. If you haven't not yet seen the previous tea leaf reading that I posted for the 2 weeks of July the 17th and 24th, if you feel like doing so, maybe you can go ahead and watch that. But if you have, you may have heard me say or seen me say that I was delayed essentially in July. I had a very minor medical issue that prevented me from essentially speaking properly. I'm totally fine now, hence the delay. But I am definitely feeling so much better, and I am back and I am recording this tea leaf reading. So thank you so much once again for all of your support and all of your patience and understanding and all of your well wishes. I did post an update on my community tab, and I received some wonderful, sweet and beautiful feedback. So thank you so much for everyone who commented there and all of your likes. And even if you didn't comment or like, just thank you so much for being here and for watching this video. And I truly hope that you find this tea leaf reading to be helpful, informative, insightful, maybe even a little bit inspiring. So thank you so much once again, and let us now proceed with your tea leaf reading. I'm now going to be putting my ring light up. It's going to be quite bright, obviously, and so I'm going to likely not be looking into the camera too much because of the brightness. So in case you're wondering why I'm not looking in the camera, that's why. See what the universe would like us to know for last week and this week. It looks as though last week, the week of July the 31st, generally speaking, we may have found that there was one main event or situation, whatever the case may have been, that was really taking up most of our notice. That was the main focus for us. It was a situation where things were either calm and clear and quiet pretty much across the board, and we were happy with that, and or we wanted things to get moving. However, generally speaking, it was extremely significant. There was one main event or situation that was taking place last week, and it does continue into this week and also heading into the base. Oh, and one quick reminder, I do read chronologically. So for myself and for us and for this tea leaf reading, the rim is representing the week of July the 31st, so the Monday of the 31st, as well as the weeks progressed. So last week and heading into this week, so that's along the sides of the cup. So around middle of the cup approximately is August the 7th, and then continuing on further, it leads into the base, and which is the week, this coming weekend, and heading into the following week, which is almost said July, August the 14th. So now, on the way, and later. Present situation, the sides are on the way, and the base is more of the distant future. There was one main event or situation that was, again, taking our focus, or that was our focus last week, and again heading into this week, and as well as heading into this coming weekend and the following week. It is highly significant. There's also a secondary situation taking place nowhere near as significant as this main event is. And the secondary event is essentially comprised of a lot of thinking and talking, a lot of conversations and thoughts and things being up in the air, things being decided, not a great amount of clarity. However, there's a lot of discussions to be had, or that were taking place and likely are still going to be taking place. Although in this secondary event, I would say that, however, by the beginning of this week, August the 7th, things started to become a little more clear, and that clarity does, for the most part, continue into, I would say, around the middle of this week. Now, at that point in time in the tea leaves, it does become a little more complex. This layout is very intriguing because if you have seen any other videos on this channel for tea leaf reading, usually there's one main event or situation which is shown in the cup, and it continues into the base. However, that's not entirely the situation here. As you can see, it is quite widespread, and it does encompass a great amount of the cup, about half of it, as I just mentioned a moment ago. However, it does join with this other secondary event or situation, which you can see right here. So it's almost as though there are two situations taking place, or there were last week. One very significant, one less so. They do not seem to be related at all, really. However, as the time was progressing, certainly by this week, it does appear that, yes, they are in fact related. It is, again, there's a lot of thinking and talking, though. Things are, again, very much up in the air with that situation, and a lot of thoughts and conversations taking place. However, again, there certainly is a greater amount of clarity that does continue into this week and throughout this week in regards specifically to that scenario. Overall, there are 3 events or scenarios where things are, again, calm and clear and quiet. We have some downtime. We have approximately 3 to 4 different scenarios where we have some quiet time. Not a lot is happening in those scenarios or those events or those situations or areas of life. So this is a wonderful time to just be as productive as possible, and just to truly pace yourself in whatever way or ways you feel is best for you. Now let's look at this main event or scenario. There was a bit of lag time. It did not really begin to take shape or begin to truly unfold until around maybe Tuesday or so of last week. Before it did take shape, or before it did become obvious, or before it actually really truly began, there were some thoughts and ideas, some conversations, things being discussed for a very short period of time. A fair amount of those situations, or of the conversations, there's a lot of love with that scenario, generally speaking, and it is comprising a fair amount of this whole main event or situation. Loving scenario, love and harmoniousness. Overall, it seems like there's just a lot of thinking and talking taking place last week that took place, and also for this week. For the most part, have greater clarity, so knowing where we stand and yet not knowing. One of those situations. And that really truly seems to be taking place at the end of this week, as well as definitely heading into this weekend and next week. There's less thinking and talking and more clarity in this main event or situation, most certainly, as compared to the secondary event. However, generally speaking, much busier than the secondary event, much more significant, more things taking place, more clarity, but also a lot of unknowns at the same time, a lot of thinking and a lot of ideas and conversations. I hope that we were able to pace ourselves last week. Seems like it was one of those situations where pacing ourselves would have been a definite bonus I would also say that is definitely the case for this week as well. Let's look a little more at this loving and harmonious situation, because it's very intriguing to me. It almost appears as though there are two hearts involved in this one scenario, this one aspect of this main event. So it's a fairly large heart, and there is a smaller heart that is part of that heart. So whatever was and is happening there, mainly was taking place last week, also a little bit into this week. A lot of things up in the air in that situation. Approximately 5 new ideas that were being contemplated, new opportunities. House property very well may have been part of that scenario, this loving and harmoniousness. So I would say that you may be thinking of moving, maybe you were thinking of moving at the time, but however, it appears as though it's maybe not the right time as of last week to move. However, give it a little bit of time, and as well as unconventional stability, and receiving very good things regarding that. Unconventional stability, if you're not too sure what I mean by that, I use this example a lot to explain what I mean. For example, you paint boxes, you sell them online, and you make money. It's unconventional, however, it does give you a sense of security. So, it's an example. Something different and unique, and good and stable at the same time. I keep seeing unconventional stability as being indicated. A unique balance, using your intellect. We were using our intellect in that situation. It appears as though we were fairly happy with the way it was progressing. Action, speed, momentum. It was continuing forward. There was momentum behind it. May have been someone who was Sagittarius involved, or the qualities of that sign. The philosopher, the thinker, action and momentum. I'm not an astrologer or a numerologist. There was likely a male who was involved, who very well may be Sagittarius. A helpful individual who was involved in that situation. Real sense of happiness, like a cheeky happy face in here. Things going well. Unconventional, but good. There's a connection with property. There may have been 2 different properties that you were maybe looking at. It appears as though at the start of last week it just wasn't time to proceed, but it was being talked about, I would say. Anywhere from 2 to 3 properties, actually. A partnership that's related to that. Documents, paperwork, or the very least writing was involved in some way, shape, or form. Helpful people were involved, specifically also a woman who was very wise and artistic, creative, resourceful. Multiple properties were involved. Protection, movement, motion, momentum, things progressing quite well, quite quickly. A possible Scorpio connection. So someone who is that sign, or the qualities of that sign, likely the qualities of that sign, such as regeneration, new beginnings, going within, things of that nature. There may also have been a small part of that situation, very short term, at the beginning of it, at the beginning of last week, where there may have been a minor setback, but it was really truly a matter of perspective, very short term. But overall, this entire situation is very loving. There are multiple hearts in here. I would say I'm seeing 3 hearts actually in this one larger heart, so 4 in total. It was a very, very unique and loving and very positive and good and harmonious scenario. Lots of support. A new opportunity that involved protection, unconventional stability, and seriously thinking of moving. The idea of truly wanting to move was forming at the beginning of this scenario, at the beginning of last week. It was part of the whole main eventer situation. Looks positive. Messages, news, and or information, possibly related to someone who is a water sign, astrologically. It may have been slow moving though at the same time as well, and a matter of perspective is associated with it. So glass half full versus glass half empty, for example. But it was good. It was a good scenario. There's happy faces there. There's a Cancerian connection, so someone likely who is that sign, or the qualities of that sign being present. And protection again being indicated. Taking your time, going within, documents or paperwork of some kind that may actually have involved either conversations specifically in regards to thinking of moving, and or, which makes sense, and or some money that's involved. Reassurance is being indicated regarding that, and also forward movement. So if you were thinking of moving last week, it looks like it was progressing quite well. Action, movement, momentum, anything is organized, messages, news, and or information, stability, partnerships, going within, possibly a connection with going within and sacredness and spirituality, open communication between two people, someone who is also very wise, almost magical in a way. This is likely a male, possibly a fire sign. Open communication, reassurance, reaping what we sow. That involves letter Y, either Leo or a Libran connection. Number 4, letter H. Now, again, I'm not a numerologist, but to me, 4 represents the angels and safety, security. A situation also that involves being supported, maybe even literally a child, but being supported and cared for. Letter J and number 4, and maybe also the letter E, potentially S as well, but likely not, but possibly. That involves a helpful individual who has those letters in their name, and letter C and or G. Again, forward movement, looks like it was going very well. Protection, it was a good scenario. Letter M, new opportunities, new beginnings, and going for what we want to have, not being held back, being happy, positive, forward movement. New partnerships also involved with that, as well as independent thinking differently. Okay. Now, at the same time as all of that was taking place, this other part of this main event also had hearts in here. It was a very loving scenario that completely persists throughout this tea leaf reading, certainly for last week. Just a lot of love and harmoniousness. Now, this other scenario here as part of this main event, it was happiness, a successful venture, a new creative project that was being presented or contemplated. Involved the letter C, person, place, or thing, as well as a new opportunity that involved creative messages, news, and or information. And it was coming towards us. Possibly a French connection. And the letter A, person, place, or thing. Happiness. Taking some time out for our own self-care, wisdom, learning, knowledge. Possible Aries and or Taurus connection. And action, momentum, things taking place rather quickly. At the same time as there's this forward movement, there is reminders in here, clearly, of taking some time out for our own self-care, going within. Happiness, new opportunities. It looks like we were very happy with the way this entire situation was unfolding at the start of last week. Change and transformation. Person, place, or thing with the letter P involved, and that involved a house, a different house from the other ones I had seen a few moments ago. Letter H, messages, news, communication arriving to us. Again, involving the letter H. Maybe A as well. Unconventional stability, also involved the house, property, potentially. Letter J, person, place, or thing. Open communication. This involved a partnership that was being contemplated, or that was beginning to take form. Looks positive. New thinking, a new opportunity of some kind, change, transformation. Open communication, documents were likely involved. A reminder of angelic support and divine guidance, that it is always around us, again, as far as I'm concerned, my own opinion. Giving 3 different pieces of news. This involved some kind of new opportunity. And it looks like it was very positive, joyful, joyous, new way of thinking, using our intellect. We had to use our intellect with that. It was a positive scenario. A lot of happy faces in here. Letter S, new creative projects, creating new things. There may have been new family members, like you're receiving good things, whether this is materially or physically in terms of receiving new people into the family in some way, shape, or form, something along those lines, something of that nature. Again, stability, angels, independent thought, open communication between two individuals. There was more clarity around property at the end of last week. Going within or looking at documents, something to that effect. And that makes sense. If property is involved, we would be looking at documents. Things being signed, contracts or paperwork. Small reminder here for perspective. New beginning, reassurance regarding a new beginning, a new opportunity. That actually was a conclusion, but it was also part of a new beginning as well. So at this point in time, we're looking at approximately at the end of last week, heading into this week. And this is where things really become more clear. We have clarity, and yet we don't at the same time. We know where we stand and we don't. There's a bit of a surprise here regarding a partnership that involves 4 different people, but it's very positive, very supportive, very loving, taking some time out for our own self-care in some way, shape, or form, going within, observing a greater self-awareness, whatever the case is, but slowing down and really tuning into ourselves. That looks like it's forming beautifully, and it's definitely abundance and prosperity from what I'm seeing. Person, place, or thing, likely a person with a letter L in the name. And again, this joyousness, happiness, dancing, forward movement, not being held back. Creative projects, creativity, partnerships regarding that. Again, it's this loving harmoniousness that seems to be continuing, as well as unconditional love, support, loyalty, commitment, gentleness, nurturing, protectiveness, compassion, those qualities being present. Letter H, again, I've seen H a few times now. Abundance and prosperity, reassurance, new opportunities. Specifically, that is in regards to abundance and prosperity, a situation that involves a surprise, but working with other people, and it does look very positive. New beginning, and there's an independent thought or a change of thought or thinking differently, thinking uniquely. Gentleness, nurturing, taken care of. A conclusion that's a bit of a surprise that involves the letter E in a partnership that is beautifully forming. Letter H, keep seeing letter H. I would, again, for the last time, I will say this to not sound repetitive. Small reminders here for perspective. And we have more surprises. Helpful individual, a woman, likely, yet again, and receiving good news regarding that individual, and that somehow is connected with a partnership. And a conclusion that involves or results in open communication between 4 individuals. This very well may not be like face to face in the same room, but maybe like a video call or long distance conversation. However, I will leave it at this. It looks to be very positive. It does involve reading, and at the same time, approximately, there's again open communication, but it does appear to be distance, by phone or a video call, something to that effect. And that helps to create a new opportunity that also involves close communication, maybe smooching. Yeah. Possibly. A loving scenario. Now, at this point in time, we are heading into the base, which is the end of this week, and heading into the weekend, heading into next week. There's things in here that the universe does not want us to know, some surprises. However, we can still see a few things. Working with other people, a reminder of angelic divine guidance. Unconditional love, support, loyalty, and commitment are present. Partnerships, going for what we want to have, not feeling held back. Open communication that involves this forward movement, yet again, this joyousness, this happiness. We need conclusions so we can have new beginnings, and vice versa, I would say. That's also being shown in here. Going within, new opportunities. Like, even if something does conclude, even if there is a conclusion, it's fairly small. That may likely involve the letter C, maybe even a French connection. But also this conclusion results in a new opportunity, like literally an open door. And the beginning part of that, like the new opportunity that is also connected with that specifically, involves receiving something very positive, whether it's 5 pieces of news or some money that's coming in, something to that effect. I won't say it again, to not sound repetitive. Open communication, abundance and prosperity. We're just not supposed to know a few things. Some surprises. These new opportunities, these events and situations that I've just mentioned, they do help to create a new opportunity, essentially comprised of a fair amount of surprises. And it leads into this weekend, heading into next week. It does include the letter B, so person, place, or thing with that letter involved. And that's a new beginning, a new change of some kind. It may also be referencing the letter 8. 8 to me is like the infinity symbol and balance. And it looks like by the end of this week, we're just feeling really good. In terms of the secondary scenario that I mentioned at the beginning of this tea leaf reading, there's again a lot of thoughts and words, thinking and talking, things up in the air being discussed. That does continue into the base. So looking in the base, it really does appear as though it's very similar actually to this main event or situation that's being shown in the cup, where we know and we don't know a few unknowns, several unknowns. However, it's small unknowns. We don't know several different things, and yet we also know where we stand with those things at the same time too. Overall, it does include a lot of thinking and talking and thoughts and ideas and conversations being had, working with many people. If you did happen to watch the previous tea leaf reading that I posted on this channel, you may remember that Scorpio was present, like that P and L, the symbol for Scorpio, Pluto, the planet, whatever planets really are. I'm seeing it again here. So there is a reference in here to Scorpio. So someone who is that sign or the qualities of that sign are present this weekend heading into next week, as well as the letter K. It's likely a female. There may be open communication with that individual regarding a new opportunity that's being present that may have a Libran connection in some way, shape, or form. That is part of a greater scenario that involves the letter B, person, place, or thing. Again, that B and 8, it's a different B and 8. And that involves a new opportunity of some kind that is actually fairly significant, that involves someone who is potentially Leo or Leo-like. Action, momentum, things taking place quickly with that. Receiving good things, messages, news, and or information, creative projects, new creative starts, new creative beginnings associated with that as well. There may be a slight or minor delay with that. However, it does appear as though it is a very interesting scenario, and there's likely a male involved, and the letter F, and possibly the letter J, but there again, there's this positive movement forward. That individual likely is a Leo, or there's a Leo-like connection, and or there's a number 5, which for me means change, and or the number S. I say and or a lot because tea leaf reading for myself is truly an and or. One image can look like multiple images. That's why I often do say and or. There's also the scenario of like the divine, possibly the divine feminine, sacred divine feminine energy associated with this whole scenario in some way, shape, or form. New beginnings at the same time, new ideas taking place. Abundance and prosperity that's associated with that specifically. Happiness, conversations, and some surprises, as well as continued abundance and prosperity, positive movement forward, open communication, and possibly a little bit of romance heading into this weekend. So I genuinely thank you so much for watching. I truly hope that you enjoyed this tea leaf reading, and I do look forward to seeing you very soon. Please do drop a comment in the comment section below should you wish to. I love to interact with you. I love chatting, and I cannot wait to see you again very soon. I'm also going to be posting more on my community tab, so make sure to check that out as well. And in the meantime, take care, and I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.